People related to psychopaths, at what point did you realize your life was in danger? My nephew is a little psychopath. Once, when he was 9 years old, the entire family was playing hide and seek. He didn't like where I hid, so he flew into a rage and tried to hit me. I grabbed his wrist and twisted it just enough to subdue him, which made him scream like a freaking maniac. I released him, and he ran into another room, saying he needed his Nerf gun to shoot me because he shoots people whenever he's mad. I looked at my sister-in-law and said, "Seriously, are you okay with this?" Her response was that his rage was my fault since I had no right to touch him, and I should have just let him hit me because he's only a boy. I firmly told her that if her aggressive little serial killer ever even appeared to harm one of my children, I would put him down like a rabid dog. Fortunately, her husband, my wife's parents, and everyone else present told her that she was wrong, and that her kid's behavior was concerning and a serious red flag. Flash forward 2 years, and the kid is still difficult, but everyone seems to ignore it because he's still just a boy. I'm staying at their house, and things have mostly settled since that prior incident. One day, I wake up very early, around 4:30 a.m. I don't want to disturb anyone, so I just sort of lie there and meditate. At around 5:20 a.m., the door opens. Thinking it's my kids, who were young at the time and used to wake us up early, I glance up. Then I notice that it's my nephew, and he's holding what appears to be an AR-15 toy gun. Now, I suffer from PTSD from Iraq. So, my fight or flight response is triggered, my heart is pounding and I'm basically in survival mode. I wait and watch. He creeps past the foot of the bed, walks up to my side, and raises the rifle to point the muzzle at my face. So I figure, this is it. I'm going to die. I've gone on multiple tours and taken gunfire from seasoned terrorists, but this little psycho will be the one who does me in. Today it ends. My only goal at that moment is to prevent him from harming my wife and kids. He raises the rifle, and the muzzle is now a few inches from my face. I reach up, grab the muzzle, and push as hard as I can, sending the butt into the little psycho's face. He screams in pain. His nose is bleeding, he's crying, he's screaming about how he's going to kill me, and how I'm freaking dead. Now everyone is awake. Lights are flipped on, and I realize it's just a toy rifle made to look like an AR-15. Apparently, this little psycho was planning to stick the muzzle in my face, pull the trigger, and simultaneously scare the hell out of me with flashing lights and electronic gun sounds. I felt somewhat torn. On one hand, I broke an 11-year-old's nose for playing with a toy gun. On the other hand, the kid had all these signs that he was dangerous, and his behavior was super creepy and raised yet another red flag. My sister-in-law was freaking pissed. Her chosen narrative was that I was a mentally unstable lunatic who posed a danger to all children. She called the cops and insisted, despite my wife's protests, on having me arrested. She wanted me charged with child abuse for hitting a boy for playing with his toys. The police arrived, and the interviews took the whole day. I was worried that, aside from the arrest, I might not be able to leave and go home the next day as planned since the investigation might not be finished. Fortunately, it didn't play out that way. See, this little jerk wasn't just acting crazy around me like in the movies. He displayed dangerous behavior everywhere and had been doing so for years. The police had a file on him because the school was required to call them every time he threatened a shooting, which was often. I explained my version of events. I told them I didn't see him and had a flashback thinking he was an insurgent. So when I saw him, I understood what was going through his head, and wanted to try to prevent him from hurting my family. They allowed me to return home on schedule. A week later, the detective called me to inform me that there would be no charges. He also told me that his interview with my nephew was chilling, and he hopes my sister-in-law wakes up to the reality of the situation and gets the kid some help. I told him she won't ever, and when he's 30 years old and on trial, she'll be crying and saying he's just a boy. To prevent any further incidents, I now refuse to stay at their house. Whenever we're in town, we stay in a hotel. He is never allowed to be alone with my kids. In addition, he is no longer allowed in my house after he was caught trying to steal a pocket knife. He was 12 at the time, and claimed he needed it for surgery on the family cat. I honestly hope the little psycho doesn't hurt anyone and gets better. Unfortunately, I know the odds are stacked against that hope.